Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I'm Anuja Kumar and with me is Ramya with the Midday News. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates KK Patel Super Speciality Hospital in Bhuj. Says better healthcare facilities not only prevent diseases but also promote social justice. Prime Minister says India will get a record number of new doctors in the next 10 years due to government's decision to open medical colleges in every district. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar discusses the global impact of Ukraine conflict, especially on food and energy security, with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Delhi's Education Directorate asks private schools to temporarily close entire premises or specific wings if COVID cases reported. Kendriya Vidyalaya Sangathan puts on hold admissions under special provisions. Malayali, Assamese and Bengali New Year being celebrated today. Christians across the world observing Good Friday today. Prime Minister says Jesus Christ's ideals of service and brotherhood are the guiding light for several people. And in IPL cricket, Sunrisers Hyderabad to take on Kolkata Knight Riders at Brabourne Stadium in Mumbai this evening. Prime Minister Narendra Modi dedicated to the nation the KK Patel Super Speciality Hospital in Bhuj, Gujarat this morning through video conferencing. The hospital has been built by Sri Kachhi Leva Patel Samaj Bhuj. Speaking on the occasion, he said, this hospital will make good quality healthcare accessible to people at affordable price. It will ensure best treatment for the families of soldiers and people of the trading community. He said better healthcare facilities are not limited to prevention of disease, but they also promote social justice. PM Modi said availability of affordable and best medical care to poor reinforces his trust in the system.
साथियों, बेहतर स्वास्थ्य सुविधाएं सिर्फ बीमारी के इलाज तक ही सीमित नहीं होती, ये सामाजिक न्याय को प्रोत्साहित करती है, प्रतिष्ठित करती है। जब किसी गरीब को सस्ता और उत्तम इलाज सुलभ होता है तो उसका व्यवस्था पर भरोसा मजबूत होता है। इलाज के खर्च की चिंता से गरीब को मुक्ति मिलती है तो वो निश्चिंत होकर गरीबी से बाहर निकलने के लिए परिश्रम करता है। बीते सालों में हेल्थ सेक्टर की जितनी भी योजनाएं लागू की गई, उनकी प्रेरणा यही सोच है।
The Prime Minister said under Ayushman Bharat Yojana and Jan Aushadhi Yojana, poor and middle-class families are saving crores of rupees on their treatment.
आयुष्मान भारत योजना और जन औषधि योजना से हर साल गरीब और मिडिल क्लास परिवारों के लाखों करोड़ रुपए इलाज में खर्च होने से बच रहे हैं। हेल्थ एंड वेलनेस सेंटर, आयुष्मान भारत हेल्थ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर योजना जैसे अभियान इलाज को सबके लिए सुलभ बनाने में मदद कर रहे हैं। आयुष्मान भारत डिजिटल हेल्थ मिशन से मरीजों की सुविधाएं और बढ़ेगी। आयुष्मान हेल्थ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर मिशन के माध्यम से आधुनिक और क्रिटिकल हेल्थ केयर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को जिला और ब्लॉक लेवल तक पहुंचाया जा रहा है।
The Prime Minister said the hospital will ensure best treatment for the families of soldiers and people of trading community.
भूकंप से मची तबाही के पीछे छोड़कर भूज और कच्छ के लोग अब अपने परिश्रम से इस क्षेत्र का नया भाग्य लिख रहे हैं। आज इस क्षेत्र में अनेक आधुनिक मेडिकल सेवाएं मौजूद हैं। इसी कड़ी में भूज को आज एक आधुनिक सुपर स्पेशलिटी अस्पताल मिल रहा है। ये कच्छ का पहला चैरिटेबल सुपर स्पेशलिटी अस्पताल है। इस आधुनिक स्वास्थ्य सुविधा के लिए कच्छ को बहुत बहुत बधाई। 200 बेड का यह सुपर स्पेशलिटी अस्पताल कच्छ के लोगों को, लाखों लोगों को सस्ती और बेहतरीन इलाज की सुविधा देने वाला है। ये हमारे सैनिकों और अर्धसैनिक बलों के परिवारों और व्यापार जगत के अनेक लोगों के लिए भी उत्तम इलाज की गारंटी बनकर सामने आने वाला है।
The Prime Minister said India will get a record number of new doctors in the next 10 years due to government's decision to open medical colleges in every district of the country and efforts to make medical education accessible to all.
देश में आज दर्जनों एम्स के साथ साथ अनेकों सुपर स्पेशलिटी अस्पतालों का निर्माण भी किया जा रहा है। देश के हर जिले में मेडिकल कॉलेज का निर्माण का लक्ष्य हो या फिर मेडिकल एजुकेशन को सबकी पहुंच में रखने का प्रयास, इससे आने वाले 10 सालों में देश को रिकॉर्ड संख्या में नए डॉक्टर मिलने वाले हैं।
Narrating the long and warm relationship with the Kutch Peninsula, Prime Minister Modi urged the people to focus on tourism and water conservation to boost the local economy. Addressing the function, Gujarat Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel said medical infrastructure is remarkably strengthened in Kutch district with the inauguration of K.K. Patel Super Speciality Hospital. He added that the Kutch Peninsula has marched forward in self-reliance or Atmanirbhar in health services. Union Health Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia was also present on the occasion. The 200-bedded hospital is the first charitable super speciality hospital in Kutch. Super speciality services such as interventional cardiology, radiation oncology, surgical oncology, nephrology, neurosurgery, joint replacement and other supportive services like laboratory, radiology are provided in the hospital at an affordable cost. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar held a wide-ranging discussion with UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres yesterday. In a tweet, the minister said that he exchanged views on the global impact of the Ukraine conflict, especially on food and energy security. Dr. Jaishankar said implications of the conflict are serious for developing countries. The External Affairs Minister also spoke with the Secretary-General about the latest developments in respect of Afghanistan and Myanmar. He appreciated Guterres' interest in working with India to effectively address the important contemporary challenges. Dr. Jaishankar is on a 6-day visit to the US from the 10th of this month. Dr. Jaishankar arrived in New York on Wednesday evening following his visit to Washington. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and Defence Minister Rajnath Singh were in Washington for the 2+2 ministerial dialogue.
The government will launch e-Sanjeevani teleconsultation facility at 1 lakh centres tomorrow on the occasion of the 4th anniversary of Ayushman Bharat Health and Wellness. In a tweet, Health Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia said, now the common citizens will be able to take advice from the big doctors of the country. He said the government is strengthening the primary healthcare network with Ayushman Bharat Health and Wellness Centre. More than 1,17,000 health and wellness centres have been operationalized in the country so far. The Directorate of Education, Delhi, has asked private schools to close entire premises or specific wings for a temporary period if COVID cases were reported. It has issued an advisory to all private schools in the city amid rising cases of COVID-19. The school authorities have been asked to take precautions against the disease and maintain standard operating procedures. In an advisory, the Directorate of Education has urged teachers, students and other staff to wear masks, maintain social distancing and regular washing of hands to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Delhi Education Minister Manish Sisodia has said that COVID cases have slightly increased in the national capital, but there is no rise in hospitalization. He said Education Department will today issue fresh COVID-19 guidelines for schools. A total of 325 new cases of coronavirus infection were reported in the national capital yesterday. Presently, the total number of active cases in the national capital is around 900.
Kendriya Vidyalaya Sangathan KVS has put on hold admissions under special provisions. This includes admission through the Member of Parliament MP quota. As per the directions of KVS, the decision to admit students through special provisions has been put under hold until further order. The centre told that Parliament that a decision on scrapping or retaining the quota would be taken after consultations with MPs. The Kendriya Vidyalaya Sangathan, an autonomous body under the Ministry of Education, which runs these schools, communicated the decision to the principals of KVs across the country on 12th of April. Rajya Sabha MP and BJP leader Sushil Kumar Modi has welcomed the move. In a tweet, he said, Till now, every MP and every collector, as the president of the school management committee, could enroll some students from his or her quota in each Kendriya Vidyalaya of the district. Mr. Modi said 7,500 students were admitted from MP quota and 22,000 students from collectorate quota. A training institute for drone pilots will be set up in Haryana to support capacity development. The institute, to be set up under the aegis of the Drone Imaging and Information Service of Haryana Limited, or Drishya, is expected to cater to the training needs of personnel of Drishya and other organizations. A decision in this regard was taken during the second Board of Directors meeting of Drishya, chaired by Chief Minister Manohar Lal Khattar yesterday. The Chief Minister was informed that Haryana is the first state to create a separate corporation to hasten unmanned aerial vehicle-driven governance application.
You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates KK Patel Super Speciality Hospital in Bhuj. Says better healthcare facilities not only prevent diseases but also promote social justice. Prime Minister says India will get a record number of new doctors in the next 10 years due to government's decision to open medical colleges in every district. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar discusses the global impact of the Ukraine conflict, especially on food and energy security, with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Delhi's Education Directorate asks private schools to temporarily close entire premises or specific wings if COVID cases reported. Kendriya Vidyalaya Sangathan puts on hold admissions under special provisions. Malayali, Assamese and Bengali New Year being celebrated today. Christians across the world observing Good Friday today. Prime Minister says Jesus Christ's ideals of service and brotherhood are the guiding light for several people. And in IPL cricket, Sunrisers Hyderabad to take on Kolkata Knight Riders at Brabon Stadium in Mumbai this evening. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts.
स्वाधीनता आंदोलन के दौरान भारतीय जनमानस को उद्वेलित कर स्वतंत्रता का अलख जगाने और मातृभूमि के प्रति सेवा, समर्पण और त्याग की ज्वाला प्रज्वलित कर देने वाले अमर गीतों पर आधारित विशेष कार्यक्रम आजादी के तराने सुनना न भूलें। FM गोल्ड 100.1 मेगाहर्ट्ज पर प्रत्येक शुक्रवार शाम 4:45 पर परिक्रमा कार्यक्रम के अंतर्गत आजादी के तराने Akashvani par.
Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu, who is on a 2-day visit to Uttar Pradesh today, visited Ram Janmabhoomi in Ayodhya. He also paid obeisance at the famous Hanuman Gadi temple of Ayodhya. AIR correspondent reports that the Vice President reached Ayodhya in the special presidential train, and after performing puja at Ram Janmabhoomi, he also saw the construction work of the Grand Ram Temple. He, along with his wife, performed puja at famous Hanuman Gadi temple also. State Governor Anandiben Patel and Deputy Chief Minister Keshav Prasad Maurya accompanied the Vice President during the darshan. After the darshan, the Vice President will leave for Varanasi in the same presidential train and will reach the city of Lord Shiv by evening. He will take part in the Ganga Aarti in the evening. Tomorrow, Mr. Naidu will take part in the scheduled functions after performing puja at Kashi Vishwanath Temple. Vice President will then leave for Hyderabad on the same day. More than 186 crore 30 lakh COVID vaccine doses have been administered in the country so far under nationwide vaccination drive. The Health Ministry said more than 6,66,000 doses were administered in the last 24 hours. During the same period, 949 new cases were reported in the country. The recovery rate is currently at 98.76%.
In Uttar Pradesh, 4 people lost their lives after a fire broke out in a commercial property in Varanasi. As per the information, the electric wires caught fire and people got trapped during the time of the incident. DM of Varanasi, Kaushal Raj Sharma, told AIR that 4 people died after a fire broke in a room in Ashfaq Nagar of Bhelupur area. They used to work at the commercial property where finishing and packaging of garments were done. He said that an ex gratia of 4 lakh rupees each is being provided to the family of the victims. Keralites across the world are celebrating Vishu today, the festival marking the onset of spring and the harvest season. The day also marks the first day of the Malayalam month, Medam. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has greeted people on the special occasion of Vishu, especially to the Malayalis settled across the world. In a tweet, Mr. Modi prayed for a year filled with utmost happiness and good health.
Bengali New Year Poila Boishakh and Assamese New Year Pohila Bohag are also being celebrated today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has greeted people on Poila Boishakh. In a tweet, Mr. Modi said this special occasion manifests the outstanding Bengali culture. He hoped that the coming years brings with it joy, peace and prosperity. After a gap of 2 years due to COVID-19 pandemic, the Bangla New Year Poila Boishakh was celebrated across Bangladesh yesterday with enthusiasm and festivity. The festivities started early in the morning at the Ramna Batamul in the capital Dhaka with the rendering of classical Ramkeli Rag, followed by festive songs and other programs. Other cultural organizations including the Cultural Affairs Ministry of the Government of Bangladesh, NGOs, social and cultural groups organized various programs across many venues in the capital city. Other cities and towns of Bangladesh also celebrated the event with great enthusiasm. Earlier, President M. Abdul Hamid and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina greeted people on the occasion of Poila Boishakh.
Today is Good Friday. It is observed to commemorate the day of crucifixion of Jesus. On this day, Jesus Christ sacrificed his life out of love for everyone and while suffering for the sins of humanity. On the occasion of Good Friday, people wish one another strength and happiness. More from our correspondent.
Good Friday is a Friday before Easter, on which Christians annually observe the commemoration of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. From the early days of Christianity, Good Friday was observed as a day of sorrow, penance and fasting. Good Friday comes from the obsolete sense pious, holy of the word good. According to accounts in Gospels, the royal soldiers arrested Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. Following his arrest, he was tried and sentenced to be crucified. Jesus carried his cross to the site of execution. There he was crucified. He agonized on the cross for 6 hours. During his last 3 hours on the cross, from noon to 3 p.m., darkness fell over the whole land. With a loud cry, Jesus gave up his spirit. Christians believe that God raised Jesus on the 3rd day after his crucifixion, starting or restoring his exalted life as Christ and Lord. Easter celebrates Jesus' supernatural resurrection from the dead, which established him as a Son of God and is cited as proof that God will righteously judge the world. Ravi Kumar, AR News, Delhi.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi remembered the courage and sacrifices of Jesus Christ on Good Friday. In a tweet, Mr. Modi said his ideals of service and brotherhood are the guiding light for several people. Christians across Kerala are observing Good Friday today, commemorating the crucifixion of Jesus Christ and his death at Mount Calvary. The day is being observed as a day of sorrow, penance and fasting. Special prayers were held in churches across the state to mark the day. At various places in the state, worshippers reenacted the way of the cross, the 14 stations of Christ's final journey to Calvary. At the St. Thomas Church at Malayattur near Kochi, thousands undertook the pilgrimage to the hill shrine, carrying wooden crosses on their shoulders. The church is believed to be founded by St. Thomas, the apostle of Jesus Christ. The day witnessed a large number of faithful visiting the churches following relaxations in COVID restrictions. And now, let's listen to our special program Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a Nation. India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
In today's episode, we remember a captain of the Indian National Army, Ram Singh Thakuri, who died on the 15th of April 2002. He is also the composer of the INA anthem Qaumi Tarana, which continues to instill the sense of patriotism among Indians through decades.
कदम कदम बढ़ाए जा, खुशी के गीत गाए जा, ये जिंदगी है कौम की, तू कौम पे लुटाए जा। तू शेर हिंद आगे बढ़, मरने से फिर भी तू न डर, उड़ा के दुश्मनों का सर जो से वतन बढ़ाए जा।
Ram Singh was born near Dharamshala, Himachal Pradesh on 15th of August 1914. He was inspired by his maternal grandfather, Nathu Chand, to learn music. After joining the British Army in 1927, he got training from renowned British musician Hapson and Danish in brass band, string band and dance band.
During the Second World War, Ram Singh was posted to Singapore. After the defeat of the British forces in Singapore, he was taken in as a prisoner of war in 1942. Ram Singh joined the Indian National Army under the leadership of Subhash Chandra Bose.
When Bose came to know about Ram Singh's musical talent, he asked Ram Singh to compose tunes that would inspire the spirit of patriotism. Bose said to him,
"The song should have such an indelible impact and force that the Cathay building should break into two parts and the sky should become visible."
The army man and musician Ram Singh wrote lyrics and composed the famous song Kadam Kadam Badhaye Ja.
तेरी हिम्मत बढ़ती रहे, खुदा तेरी सुनता रहे, जो सामने तेरे अड़े तू खाक में मिलाए जा। कदम
After the end of the war, Singh was brought back to India with his fellow soldiers and imprisoned at the Kabul lines of the Delhi cantonment. Mahatma Gandhi and Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel came to meet the INA soldiers. During the meeting, General Bhosle of the INA made a plea to Sardar Patel that the INA soldiers wanted to play the Qaumi Tarana. Bapuji sought permission from the English Army General, who readily gave it.
चलो दिली पुकार के, कौमी निशान संभाल के, लाल किले पे गाड़ के, लहराए जा, कदम कदम।
When Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru unfurled the national flag on the ramparts of the Red Fort and addressed the nation on 15th of August 1947, Captain Ram Singh was especially invited to play the tune of Qaumi Tarana of the INA along with the members of his orchestra group.
Captain Thakuri united all the Indians to the sound of his patriotic music. His spirit is still alive in our hearts through his songs of valor, which resonate across the country even today. We salute the great nationalist.
We also remember freedom fighter Kisan Bandhu Bhosle, who was born on 15th of April 1910 in district Satara, Maharashtra. He was inspired by Mahatma Gandhi and at Bapu's call for do or die. During the Quit India movement in 1942, Bhosle jumped into the freedom struggle. On 9th of September 1942, he joined a demonstration of more than 2,000 under the leadership of freedom fighter Parashuram Gharge at Satara.
The marchers were stopped by the police officials and, on refusal to disperse, they were fired upon. The firing resulted in the death of 9 persons, and Bhosle was one among them. We salute the great martyr. We also remember martyr Karam Singh, who took part in the First War of Indian Independence. He was arrested by the British and charged with mutiny. Karam Singh was sentenced to death and executed on the 15th of April 1858. We salute the great son of the soil.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
In Kerala, widespread rain accompanied by lightning and thunderstorm is likely to continue till Monday. Yellow alert has been issued for 10 districts including Thiruvananthapuram, Patnamthitta, Idukki and Wayanad today. The Met Department has forecast strong wind across the state for the next 4 days when a provisional ban is imposed on fishing off Kerala and Lakshadweep coasts. The pre-monsoon showers have caused huge destruction to the standing crops and properties in several parts of the state. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has greeted the people of Himachal Pradesh on the 75th Establishment Day of the state. He noted the happy coincidence of the Establishment Day that comes in the 75th year of the country's independence. In his address on the occasion of Himachal Day, Mr. Modi reiterated the commitment to take the nectar of development to every inhabitant of the state during the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Himachal Pradesh Chief Minister Jairam Thakur on this occasion announced 50% reduction in bus fare for women passengers. He also announced free domestic electricity up to 125 unit and water bill waiver in rural areas.
DD India has become #1 English news channel in the country in terms of reach. As per Broadcast Audience Research Council data, the coverage of DD India has reached from 3.6 million plus in 5th to 11th of March to over 6.5 million during the period of 2nd to 8th of April 2022. The Russian Defense Ministry announced on Thursday that the missile cruiser Moskva had sunk in the Black Sea. The ministry in a statement said during the towing of the Moskva cruiser to the port of destination, the ship lost its balance due to damage to the hull received during the fire following the detonation of ammunition. The ship sank in a stormy sea. Earlier, the Defense Ministry said on Wednesday that the Moskva had been hit by heavy fire which partially detonated its ammunition stores. Meanwhile, Ukraine has claimed that Moskva was hit by 2 R-360 Neptune anti-ship missiles. Originally built in the Soviet era, the Moskva entered service in early 1980s.
Two of the world's largest credit rating agencies have warned that Sri Lanka is about to default on its debts. Fitch Ratings lowered its assessment of island nation, saying a sovereign default process has begun. Agency's latest rating puts Sri Lanka at near default and indicated that its payment capacity is irrevocably impaired. On other hand, S&P Global Ratings made a similar announcement and said that a default is now a virtual certainty. The ratings agency said it was waiting for more details on Sri Lanka's debt restructuring plan or confirmation that its government had failed to pay its creditors. Earlier this week, Sri Lanka said it will temporarily default on its foreign debts as it faces its worst economic crisis in more than 70 years.
In IPL cricket, Sunrisers Hyderabad will take on Kolkata Knight Riders at Brabourne Stadium in Mumbai at 7:30 p.m. this evening. Sunrisers Hyderabad is placed at the 8th position in the points table, while Kolkata Knight Riders is placed at the 2nd spot behind table toppers Gujarat Titans. Last night, Gujarat Titans defeated Rajasthan Royals by 37 runs at the D.Y. Patil Stadium in Mumbai. Chasing the target of 193 runs, Rajasthan was restricted to 155 for 9 in the stipulated 20 overs. Debutants Gujarat Titans' 4th victory in 5 matches has taken them to the top of the table.
And now let us take a look at the weather forecast for the day. National capital Delhi will have partly cloudy sky. Mumbai will have mainly clear sky becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. Chennai will have partly cloudy sky. Kolkata will have partly cloudy sky with possibility of moderate rain or thunderstorm. Visakhapatnam will have generally cloudy sky with light rain. Hyderabad will have rain or thunder showers would occur towards afternoon or evening. Guwahati, Imphal, Shillong, Aizawl, Kohima and Itanagar will have generally cloudy sky with 1 or 2 spells of rain or thunder showers. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates KK Patel Super Speciality Hospital in Bhuj, says better healthcare facilities not only prevent diseases but also promote social justice. Prime Minister says India will get a record number of new doctors in the next 10 years due to government's decision to open medical colleges in every district. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar discusses the global impact of Ukraine conflict, especially on food and energy security, with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Delhi's Education Directorate asks private schools to temporarily close entire premises or specific wings if COVID cases reported. Kendriya Vidyalaya Sangathan puts on hold admissions under special provisions. Malayali, Assamese and Bengali New Year being celebrated today. Christians across the world observing Good Friday today. Prime Minister says Jesus Christ's ideals of service and brotherhood are the guiding light for several people. And in IPL cricket, Sunrisers Hyderabad to take on Kolkata Knight Riders at Brabourne Stadium in Mumbai this evening. And with that, we end the midday news.